Big hello and a very warm welcome to Brand Equity with me, Sonali Krishna. This week, I have two very special guests who are joining me from Poland. I know both of them very well, and I'm particularly drawn to this duo because they say it as it is. As most of you know, the constant endeavor for brand equity is to bring you candid speak and not speak laced with diplomacy and frills. I promise you that the next 30 minutes will be just that. Observations and insights in the rawest and truest form possible. And without further ado, let me introduce to you my guests for today. First up, I have Julia Izmalkowa. She's a psychologist, researcher at Izmalkowa, the first and only strategic agency, she says, that uses psychology of lies for businesses. Welcome, Julia. Good to see you virtually, but better than not seeing you.
Better than nothing. I'm very happy to see you again. You shine like always, so I'm very happy that we're going to talk about important stuff.
Well, I'm glad that you like my homegrown look. My second guest is Fergus O'Hare. Fergus, has many feathers in his cap. He is the former global creative director of IBM, Facebook, and now, of course, more importantly, wears the title of Julia's husband and is a partner with her at Izmalkowa. Thank you so much, Fergus. Good to see you. I love your glasses. It's a really cool COVID look.
Thank you, Sonal. They're not. Unfortunately, they're not just for show. I actually need them now, which just shows I'm getting old. But there you go. This is what happens. Also, they keep me on COVID protection.
COVID protected. Okay. So, Julia, how's it going for you? What are you sensing from your clients? What are you observing from brands at large? And I'm really talking to you, wearing the COVID lens. In terms of whether you've seen brands hesitate to advertise or communicate, whether you've seen brands communicate, and what is your take on their communication, and what are some of the brands' anxieties so far in your research?
It's interesting that I feel like now brands like hamsters in a wheel. They're just running, and they just did not stop to think what they actually want to achieve and what they want to do, because they react. It's a very difficult situation now. Obviously, it's not like anybody was prepared for this. We have COVID the first time in a history of just the whole earth just locked down. So it is difficult. So brands actually, what I see also from our experience and from our experience with Fergus, how we work, they just want to act without thinking deeper what's happening. So most of them either completely lock down the budgets, and they just don't want to, just waiting. Some of them decided to get in advertising, not communication, advertising. And this is what they do. They completely cut their budget for the research, which is surprising, because when we think about it from one perspective, as a human, I understand when you don't have money, you don't have money. So it's like no point of you don't have it. It's not like because you're a brand, you have somewhere tree with the money. But it's a difficult situation. So people are changing. They're not going to change forever, because humans change really, really, really slowly. But for some reasons, brands think they're smart enough to know what's happening with them now. They just do like nothing happened, and they just catch to the very basic, superficial needs that they decided in the boardroom what is important. So they decided that the most important now is anxiety. So everyone is talking about anxiety. They decided that it's important to tell them we support you. So this is what they do. Some of them decided that we do not know how to adjust our strategy to this time. So we're going to pull out everything. We're not going to talk, like Coca-Cola, for example. So from my perspective, they completely missing opportunity for greatness in this time. We came back on the latest plane with the government, but obviously it was a plane with that belonged to some air company, and they completely did not use it as an opportunity to show what it means. We care for you, because everybody, it's easy to say in a good times, we care for our customers. We're the best in the air. Like this is the best what could happen. But then in the end of the day, they did nothing to prove it. And they were very not kind, not nice. So from my perspective, brands missing opportunities right now. So what mainly we do, we fixing problems because very little people, very little brands just actually decided to stop, think, and have strategy. They just run like hamsters.
Talk is cheap and action is everything. I think we're not seeing much action. Fergus, you've been at the helm of several large corporations. Today, if you look around wearing your creative hat and look at the kind of work that's emerged, whether you call it advertising or communication across the world, what would be your headline thoughts?
I think that marketers and brands and big agencies have to stop messing around. I mean, there's a big, important role to do for the minute for agencies, for brands, and that's to generate profit. And it's to keep the economy going, to keep people in jobs. But instead, what we're getting now is love letters from CEOs and ads from brands that telling us that we understand, we know, we're with you, which is just nonsense. I mean, it shows that how companies, overstate how important brands are in people's life. It's like even the biggest brands are just a little thing in the life of consumers. And I think that, why do companies think that telling us that things are going to be better and that we support you and everything's going to be fine is going to make us feel any better? It's not, and I think it's the best example I've seen of this is on YouTube with some kid. I think it was a kid. He cut together a montage of the ads that are running during COVID. I don't know if you've seen this. Budweiser, Samsung, Kia, Facebook, FedEx. And if you look at it, it's got the same sad piano music. It's all got the same voiceover. It all has exactly the same dialogue. It's like, we've been around since 1970, since 1930. We've been there for you. People are important to us. Families, we understand, we're there for you. And it's absolute nonsense. So it's like they're just talking about COVID, and the thing what they should be getting on with the job of doing what we do, making money and talking to people like normal people. Like, it's like selling stuff has never been more important. We're probably heading into a massive recession at the end of 2020. So it's important to make money for the economy, So, and I think the problem with them is, and I've seen this over the years, like I've worked through 9/11, through the dot-com crash, through everything. It's like they're scared. Everyone's scared, to say the wrong thing. It's like they're scared. They know, agencies are frightened of the clients. The brands are frightened of people on social media because they know they're going to be crucified if they say the wrong thing. So everyone's saying the same thing and they're saying absolutely nothing. So there's just a total lack of creativity. So through doing nothing, they're saying nothing. I think it's hurting them more. So, there are many, I've seen many brands get it so wrong. McDonald's are separating the arches to talk about social distancing, Volkswagen separating the V and the W, Audi separating the circles to talk about social distancing, and the response from consumers has been, stop bloody worrying about it, tell us the social distance and pay your workers, take care of people. And so I think that's where they are. So just, a lack of creativity, a lack of strategic thought, and I think it's just a lack of research in the work as well. So it's just absolutely boring,
It's like same as when we met in India, that whole industry lives in a bubble and they have the sense that they're important. And every time when I'm with the client, I say, you are not important at all. You are completely not important for people. For people are important at themselves. Ego is the most sensitive part of human being. Our problems, our needs, this is what we need. And there is such a huge opportunities right now. And everybody just don't care because of political correctness, because of the fear, and because of lack of the strategy. They have tactics, but not strategy. And even tactics, they go everything wrong. And because it's not only about anxiety, humans are so complicated. They're really like onions. They have so many layers. Different people, react in different ways. So there is not just one humans that feel anxiety. There are people who are actually happy because they can finally relax. People who feel lonely. parents who are like exhausted and hate having kids already, old people who feel like they maybe die and nobody will find out. There's so many different emotions and nobody embraces it. So Coca-Cola, who is talking about joy, where are you right now? Now people need joy. Where are you with this joy? When people are stuck at home, when they have no joy, no happiness, now they should enter and give us joy. But no, they're waiting just, for the better times to get in this. And this is for me the biggest difference between advertising and communication. Advertising, I'm trying to sell you something. I'm talking to you. Communication is that we have a dialogue. I'm listening. What do you need? What is important for you now? And I will be happy to give it to you as much as I can. And, one of the main questions I have from the client, which is really sad, they're asking me if it's worth doing CSR right now. They're not asking, should we help medical workers? They're asking me, is it worth helping medical workers? So there is no truth in this. There's no spine. And this is what's wrong, because what do you think? People are stupid. They don't know that everybody invests just because they want something back. The people need some truth, and people need some fixing the problems. And everybody is also talking exactly like Fergus said, in exactly the same way. And we had a problem before COVID like this. People did not know what the advertising is about or which brand it is, because they're so similar. They're using, it's not creativity. They're doing stuck music, stuck images, stuck copy. Everything is just from stuck. It's boring and it's not appealing and nobody knows what it is.
Yeah, I mean, look at paid off. Like when everyone, like the NFL, of course, are out now saying we believe in Black Lives Matter, and now there's momentum behind it in the States and stuff. But at the time when they did the campaign around Colin Kaepernick taking the knee and getting kicked out of the NFL, nobody backed it up. Like, people thought they were crazy. Like us that know marketing knew it was a great thing to do because they're on the right side of history. It took a while for them. I mean, it's taken a while for people to recognize that Black lives do matter, and Colin Kaepernick was right. But look how the bravery of Nike has paid off.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And this is what we're lacking at the minute. There's no bravery from brands. Absolutely no bravery. Everyone is running scared.
Attempting a purge of sorts as humanity at large. And hence I ask you this question. You're right. There is no bravado coming from brands. I don't know if you know the Indian context, but, because Black Lives Matter has become such a big movement in the US, and most of the multinational corporations who operate in Asia, and particularly in India, have been forced to relook their particular verticals when it comes to the fairness segment, because in India, being fair-skinned, is being superior. It's our society. So we're racist as well. And if you're not so fair, if you're dark-skinned, then you're not so good-looking. So beauty, has a definition here in India, and a lot of these companies have been forced to relook at their segments because the Black Lives Matter, traveling overseas and reaching here. So it's no thanks to us Indians, it's thanks to the West. But, for instance, Unilever has had to change one of its big star brands called Fair and Lovely, which is basically only catering to the Indian and the Middle East market, making it Glow and Lovely, because Fair and Lovely is just obscenely rude. Johnson & Johnson has decided to completely do away with that segment. So consumers, at least in the West, are seeming to push the ante somewhat. I think we are just, pawns in this game, and it's okay. I think we're moving the right direction. Having said that, I want to ask you, is there any real profit for brands to show bravado? If brands take a stance and are more authentic and are true to themselves, let's say the only example that comes to my head is Nike, because it's a brand that holds true to its values, whatever the repercussions may be. Is there a profit in that? Because only if they see, some kind of reward and profit, will they have, the bravado to show. Else they will be like bats and be opportunistic and tactical, like you said.
Like Nike did it first. Lots of companies are following, but we still remember Nike has been brave enough to do it, and they sold bucket loads of shoes. Apart from the racists in America who burnt the Nikes, which was great because it even sold more shoes, so people bought even more Nikes after that. So it comes one and the other. I think it's like you can do both, and companies will do both. If they do the right thing, they will profit. The bad examples, of course, are like, go back to the Pepsi example, where they thought they were doing the right thing by bringing together a crowd over a can of Pepsi, and it horribly backfired them because it was just stupid and it was just a terrible execution and a terrible idea. But there is money made for change, and people want it.
To be honest, I believe that this is the only way to make money, because as you know now, big brands start losing when you see all this stats that is happening in many countries. Local brands are already growing much more. They're more trusted. The reason why people now trust bloggers more than the brands, because it's more authentic. And the problem that I have with everything what you said, that it's again, the brands now are like, flags on the wings. Whatever the wind is, they're changing. And I don't agree with this. I really believe that brands, like all humans, they should have a spine. And every time I'm being asked what strategies that should choose, what people to cooperate, what celebrities to cooperate, I always say just the only way is choose for a long time, think who you want to cooperate, check it if this is what you want to say, but then stick to it. Don't change it just because problems will come, because you show who you are when the problems, you need a problem to show who you really are. You need a situation to be a hero. Without problematical situation, you cannot be a hero. So it's actually, there's so many opportunities right now. So when shit hits the fan, this is your opportunity.
So are you saying we now expect brands to have a moral compass, brands to have a spine, but not society as much?
I think we should expect all higher standards from everyone. And the problem why we expect from brands, and I personally expect a lot from brands, because brands have money and brands have rule a little bit our world from perspective of how we think about beauty, for example. Maybe brands are not, and it's a simple fact, brands and advertising is not important for people. But the way we sell the image, the way we talk is important, and they literally shape how we think. So if brands will not set up example, we as society are getting worse. It's important to say, that it's important to see example of Patagonia. It's important that Patagonia closed his shops during Black Fridays. And this is what we're saying, this is expectation, because they're saying if they close the shop, maybe I should also think and stop shopping. Maybe if they put so much money, all the tax money that they get profit from Trump, they put into the saving the planet. Maybe I should also make this effort and, stop using plastic bags. So we always learn by through example. As we're babies, and here brands are having opportunity to give us an example because they cooperate with the bloggers, with influencers. This is examples. That's why it's so important for brands to choose the right people who are having the truth, to say, because then people follow. That's why I believe bloggers and influencers are very dangerous. If they don't have moral compass, if they do things for money, they're dangerous for society because they set up bad examples and people just follow. It's not like we are very reflective, race. We have some people who are reflective, but then we just follow. And that's why we should be responsible.
Fair enough. Let me ask you, Fergus, as the world battles COVID and the next few years are tough years because most economies will go into recession. People will have lesser disposable income, lots of unemployment across the world. Do you think in a moment in time like this, when humanity is facing an existential crisis, we're having all sorts of awakening, and we don't have enough money, and we won't have for some time, will consumers have the time and the bandwidth to assess brands depending on whether they have a moral whether they have a moral compass and a spine, or will they assess brands on sheer pricing?
Well, I think price obviously becomes important in a recession, but I think the brand, the moral compass is also important. It's like we know it's important for brands to spend during a recession. Those brands that keep spending, they're not going to see the profit straight away during the recession, but it's a long game. It's a little bit like a Formula One race. It's it's not one in the straight, it's one in the corners and the other places. That's how you do it. So you got to think long term. But I think that's it's not going to affect the way people see brands. Brands with a moral compass will still be important, because people will remember it after the recession is over, and they'll remember the brands that said the right thing and did the right thing. So I think both is important. Like price is tactics, but strategy still overlooking it all. That's whether that strategy is talking about having a moral compass as part of the strategy, I think will definitely make a difference in consumers' lives after the recession is finished.
From perspective of research that I can tell you, that people divide ads on messages on two categories usually. It's advertising, which means they want something from me, or it's information. They give something to me. So whatever it is, entertainment, knowledge, whatever it is. So, and the question is like, who are you? Are you giving me, are you ad or are you in information? Because if you're information, people want to watch you.
Let me ask you one question, Fergus, in particular, in context of what we've been talking about. Look at the way advertisers or brands rather have boycotted Facebook. Look at that entire movement or exercise. And I don't know if that's coming from a noble place or it's coming from a place of, okay, this is a good time, force Facebook into things that they possibly were not very open about earlier. So I don't know which place this is really emanating from. I'm sure you have an insight on that.
I believe that the brands, obviously, there's momentum behind people that Facebook have been, underhand with a lot of things. They're responsible for, getting Trump elected. So they've, because they let false ads run, and they knew that they ran. I mean, I read in the newspaper that Sheryl Sandberg was told that they were being hacked by Russians, and they shushed it off and said nothing about it. And I think it's like there's been posts that are hateful, and they've done nothing about it. And I just think once again, it's just terrible PR from Facebook. They just do not do anything. Like people say, people are not happy with the political ads and stuff, and they do nothing. I think maybe we can't say that Mark Zuckerberg is not smart. He's obviously a very smart person and a great engineer, but they do absolutely terrible PR. So I think, brands do see an opportunity here. I think they're afraid to get on the bandwagon in case there's a backlash, because there has been a backlash in social media. So, Facebook has come back to eat itself a little bit with people complaining about what they're doing. So, I think brands are not doing it for themselves. I think brands are doing it because they think that's what consumers want them to do. And that will be better for business at the end of the day.
Well, on that note, thank you, both of you. Thank you for your time. I hope I can see you all very soon when we overcome this grand battle of COVID. And here's to good health, happiness, and better times in the future. Thank you, both of you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sonali. So great to see you.